Hi everyone, it's Fiona here from fionamarks.com, and I am back talking with you about the Asheville Vedic Astrology Apprenticeship Program that is now available on Teachable. And I've put this PowerPoint presentation with bricks and mortar in the background because this apprenticeship program is about laying the foundation and then correctly laying the bricks, sticking them together with mortar in a solid way so that everything that you learn builds on itself and that your house is not on shaky foundations in terms of being an astrologer. And it's easy to be so interested in astrology that we pick this bit and that bit and we listen to this lecture and we try those techniques. But sometimes we're flying before we can walk, and this apprenticeship program is the antidote to that. It is taking you from nothing and teaching those fundamentals in the order that allows you to build a solid foundation that will last the test of time and give you the skills you need to be an astrologer. Now, last time I gave you an overview of all the content that's available. Today, I wanted to jump into sharing with you study tips because Ryan actually asked if we would do this to share with people how to successfully work with the apprenticeship program. Because it does have a unique teaching methodology, which we already spoke about, which is step by step. So we're not looking here to dazzle you and impress you on the first week or the 8th week or even, the 3rd month or the 5th month. We're looking for real solid knowledge laid down in the correct order. So study tips. Number 1, you will hear this a lot from Ryan when you are doing the course. Take notes. And it sounds obvious, but it is really important. I was lucky enough to have just done Marie Kondo. Do you know Marie Kondo, this Japanese tidying phenomenon? And I had just done that, like, I don't know, a month before I started Ryan's course. And anyway, she gets you to clear out your whole house with stuff. Do you really need it? And of course, I threw out notes that I had taken from university and, courses that I'd been to that I no longer felt I needed. And that made me, for the first time ever, take notes onto my computer. And I'm probably talking to half the people here have only ever taken notes on the computer. But can I encourage you, please, to think about, if you feel comfortable, taking notes on your computer, because there's a lot of notes and it allows you to cross-reference and search your notes in a way that's hard on paper. So that's how I did all of my notes on the computer. You need to set aside study time for this course. These are not podcasts. So if you saw the previous video that I shared of the overview of all the content that you are signing up for, these are not podcasts that you can put on and go jogging or walking or be, doing your housework or anything else. These are university lectures. You need to be, or lectures that are at that kind of style as university. You need to be giving your 100% attention and taking notes. The wonderful thing about the modern world is that you're receiving them on video so you can pause. I always found when I was at uni that I really struggled to listen, take notes, and digest what was being said. I could either listen or I could take notes or I could kind of contemplate and digest. But to do the 3 things at the same time, it's difficult. Here, they're video lectures. You can stop and start, pause, think, go and research on the web, come back, take some more notes, press play again. So often I would do most of the course. I had split my screen. I would have the video on one side and my Word document on the other side. towards the end, technology moves on, and I could cast, because the videos were YouTube, I could cast them onto my television and have my laptop just taking notes. So find a way that you can have the two things going at the same time. I found you needed to allow about double the lecture time. And these lectures will be usually an hour and a half. Like that will probably be a minimum. Often could be 2.5, 3 hours. So you need to find time in your week if it's a 2-hour lecture, you need to find 4 hours to sit down, play the video, take the notes, think about it, write something, come back to the video, play a bit more, go look on the internet. That's what you need to do in order to study in this course effectively. There are no handouts in the whole 170 something hours of material. There's no handouts. So you don't get a free ride. You need to take your own notes. And sometimes you might think, wow, a handout would make this really easy. And I had that thought many times. But at the same time, it is in taking your own notes, writing it down the way that makes sense to you, printing it out or formatting it in a table or in dot points, whatever is your way of understanding things. That's how you get your useful material. So no handouts. You need to take your own notes. The structure is there if you listen for it. So Ryan has put this together, this whole apprenticeship program, in a very systematic way. He's been extremely strategic, like zoomed right out and looked at what do you need to know and when, and how do I explain that? So if you listen, it's right there for you. And when you take the notes, you may see that structure coming out in the way you're taking notes. I'll show you my notes in the next video and you can have a look. So I'm a very visual learner. This is quite an auditory way of learning in general, but the visual structure is there. So listen to it and recreate it, and you'll learn better by not being spoon-fed the handout. Another study tip, this is solo study. You are on the quest to become an astrologer. You are an apprentice. You have a master who is giving you the content in the lectures, and you are learning. So there's no tutorials / group projects. You're not kicking around with a bunch of other learners. This is a contemplative inner kind of learning style. So it increases your capacity to contemplate. There will definitely be things that are said that make you think, or that you don't understand, or that you don't understand how that word goes with that concept. And that's an invitation to let it percolate in your mind during the week. Keep coming back to that thought and see what you can nut out yourself, because it builds confidence in you that the material is revealing itself to you. And by you having that chance to contemplate, you're building your confidence that astrology is speaking to you. You can access support. There are mentors, and those are the current Year 4 students, and they're available to clarify any points that you have, and you can work really well with those mentors. And there are tutors, which are that I am one. We are the graduates from the whole program, and we offer tutoring and assessment. If you would like to have your work assessed, we are here. You can access us for that. Another study tip for success with the Asheville Vedic Astrology Apprenticeship Program is don't use your own chart. Ryan says it a lot. I really recommend it. It takes a lot of discipline not to do it. And of course, occasionally I did check this or I did check that. But I can tell you now that I've been through the whole program and I've read so many people's charts now that it is only now 4 something years after I've started being an astrologer or learning astrology, that I can have any sense of detachment to know what to react to and not react to, what's important and what's not important in my own chart. When you're always looking at your own chart, you discount what the lecture is teaching because you're like, oh, well, that's not in my chart, or that's not how it feels to me on my side of this chart. And you miss out on the teaching that is actually applicable to 80% of all other charts. Maybe yours is the anomaly, or yours you can't see yet that pattern in your chart. So unlike many other teaching programs with astrology, this one is definitely not about examining your own chart. I would highly recommend doing the homework and the papers. I think this is probably where I learned the most. I found all of the homework and papers really stretched my ability to synthesize what I learned in the course. And I enjoyed every single one of them. I found them challenging, but in a good way, you know, just at that level of challenge where you get the question, but you really have to really work inside yourself to answer that question. So I would highly recommend doing the papers and the homework. And I'm so pleased to let you know that now myself and Fernando and the other graduates, as they come on board, we're here to assess if you want to. Those tutoring costs are over and above your subscription. So you have to reach out and purchase that support if you want your work assessed. But it is an honor to have someone assess your work in this field. It doesn't happen very often. Astrologers are all, we're, you know, a bit like cats, you know, we're all off doing our own research and our own interesting things. It's not often that another astrologer takes the time to read your thought process and your application of astrological principles. So if you wish, I highly recommend making the investment to have your papers or homework marked. However, you don't need to do that. You just do the homework and papers. You don't have to hand them in to anyone, but just go through that process of answering those questions, meeting that challenge. When you go through this course, I've already told you there are no handouts, but you will create your own tools for reading charts. And Ryan kind of tips you off to this as he's going through these lectures. He says, you know, write this down, print it off, put it by the side of your computer. I use mine. I still use mine every day when I'm assessing charts. And that is what you're going to create for yourself, not Ryan's tools, your tools. So I found that to be really valuable. I kind of didn't realize it till I started the practicum year, which is the 4th year, and you have to read a whole lot of charts under supervision. And you're like, how do I read a chart? And there you go. You go look at each of these homework assignments that you've done and how it's created for you these tools that you need to read a chart. So enjoy creating your own tools. And my final study tip is that if you are new to astrology like I was, astrology is going to stretch your brain to be big enough to somehow contain this multidisciplinary, rich field of astrological knowledge. It is so big, so huge, and it's so deep. It's not just skimming across the top of the map, it's deep down into the rich earth of the map. And I definitely napped. I would be listening to the lecture, writing my notes, and could barely keep my eyes open sometimes. And I think it's just because your neurons, they just can't process so much. Apparently our brain is like, by weight, it's 2% of our body weight, but it takes 20% of all the glucose in the body because it's just such a high energy use organ. So I found that you're going to feel sleepy sometimes listening to these lectures. So build that into your study time, that in fact, sleeping, contemplating, and going to the lectures are like a loop that feeds itself, because you need to, it's not just attending the lectures, you have to find a way to digest them, to inculcate them into yourself. And contemplation is one part of that, but sleeping is another part of it. So be willing to perhaps occasionally feel so overwhelmed you just have to like close your eyes. So these are my study tips for the Asheville Vedic Astrology Apprenticeship Program on teachable.com. I hope that that gives you a good orientation to how to approach studying with this course. And of course, reach out at any time if you have questions or things that you wish to share. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.